morning, everyone. It's Doug from Vermont Hoyas, and this is a big day for me here in Vermont. I have finally flowered Hoya carmelae, and this was a Hoya that I have fooled around with now for almost 8 years. It's been on my Hall of Shame list. It's one of the last remaining Hoyas on that list. I only have one left that I have not flowered from that list now, Hoya divoensis, and that is the next one that is on my radar. But for right now, I'm going to savor having flowered Hoya carmelae. And now that I know the secret, I think I could flower this pretty much anytime I want to, and I'll share that secret with you in a little bit. Let's take a closer look at the flowers. This is a Philippine Hoya found at a high elevation. So I think it likes it a little bit cooler, but that's got nothing to do with having been able to flower it. 3 peduncles full of flowers. They all opened yesterday during the daylight, unlike 90% of Hoyas that open their flowers at night. This is a day opener. I hope to get some good still photos because they look like little jewels. Just really cool. Take a look at this. Peduncle full of flowers. You can see how red the leaves get under good light. It's really a gem of a Hoya. So let's talk about how I managed to flower this. Last fall, my main plant failed. The roots went on it. Turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I flowered these in about 7 or 8 months after starting them over from cuttings. So it doesn't take very long to flower this Hoya, even though I've been fooling around with it for 8 years. And the secret, once again, has to do with day length. All of my carmelae plants that were under 14-hour constant day length never produced a peduncle. Matter of fact, in 8 years, I never saw a peduncle. But as soon as I moved this from 14 hours, growing it for 14-hour days, to 12-hour days, within a matter of a couple weeks, I could see peduncles beginning to form. So that is the secret to flowering this plant. You have to move it from longer day length to shorter day length, and it happens almost immediately. Here's another little peduncle with buds forming. It's just happening all over this plant. So that is a secret to flowering this. I'm growing this in 100% tree fern fiber. I've just recently transplanted these plants here into bigger pots. I'll probably do the same thing on here, although I don't think I really need four plants, but it makes for an interesting arrangement. I'm having to water these plants like 3 times a week because they're in such small containers. But it is really a cool Hoya. I never thought I would ever flower this. So it's just a matter of finding that trick, that trigger that causes these plants to want to flower. And I finally found it after all of this time. So I'm going to savor this one for a while. Just a lovely Hoya. It roots really quickly. You can see that it gets these aerial roots all over. Whenever a plant does that, it means it's an easy candidate for rooting. So it likes to dry out. This one, I've lost it a number of times over the years from root rot. So this is one that needs to dry out and then water thoroughly, and you should be good with it. It's not particularly difficult Hoya to grow. I've never tried this in a regular house. I don't know how it would make out. These have always been grown under artificial conditions in my grow tents. And I think that's all I have to say about Hoya carmelae. This is a holiday here in Vermont because it's a big day having flowered one that you've tried to flower for 8 years. Well, I thank you for taking the time and visiting with myself and Hoya carmelae, and I'll be back really soon with more great Hoyas and Hoya growing tips. Thanks again.